Today, I'm joined by Kris Zyp, Senior VP of Engineering at Harper, to talk to you about Harper Fabric and how it'll shape the future of deploying and scaling applications with Harper. Kris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's a beautiful fall day and we have lots of things going on.
Yeah, awesome. So, jumping in, what exactly is Fabric?
Sure. Yeah, Fabric is our new service that we are building to make it very easy to start using Harper on infrastructure that's ready to go and very easily deploy Harper applications in a distributed cloud-based network for fast and ready access for your users. And so it's streamlining a lot of the processes that are typically quite complicated and difficult as far as coordinating different compute and data resources and bringing that all together in a very simple platform so that application deployment with very high levels of scalability and performance are readily accessible with just a few clicks and choosing a few options.
Awesome. So, in your mind, what's the biggest problem that Harper Fabric is solving for customers?
Yeah, I think that the biggest problem it's solving is very related to some of the biggest problems that itself is solving. So one of the challenges of basic application development is really working in a scalable and performant way with applications that are dealing with complex logic, compute, and coupling that to data in a way that's easy to manage and is fast. And there's a lot of layers in that in typical uh, architectural design that add a lot of extra complexity and add to the latency and slowdowns that occur in typical applications. And so working through that's a big development challenge. And so Harper really solves a lot of those challenges by bringing together application logic, code directly with the data so that they can be developed um, in harmony and deployed in harmony for a faster and easier experience. And so Fabric really brings that out as a service itself. And so beyond just the aspect of development is the aspects of deployment and management of that infrastructure that typically involves a fair bit of complex thinking around how both your compute is deployed and then how that's connected to your data backbone, your databases, and are those in similar locations, and do those have fast links to them, and are those in a set up in a balanced way? Do they have the appropriate types of connection pooling and all of those parameters that often are integral parts of the tuning between those layers? And so Fabric really simplifies that because it brings that together. And so you can do these deployments of data-driven applications by just a few simple selections in terms of what is your basic tier of service, where do you want to focus the distribution, um, and some simple questions like that that are easy to answer. And with that, we're able to automatically deploy Harper applications in a way that are going to be performant, and that access that is fundamental to all applications in terms of being able to query and access data. That whole system, you're able to have a very high confidence that that is all going to be working fast and is going to have a low latency to your users.
That sounds great. Thinking about Harper and kind of focus on distribution is something we've always done. Distributed applications we talked about a lot. How does Harper Fabric really align with our overall vision of distributed applications?
Yeah, so I mean, it's really the orchestration layer that's helping to drive that. And so Harper provides the fundamental constructs to be able to distribute an application in terms of ensuring that the code itself is deployed in all the appropriate locations to all the nodes, as well as handling all of the complexities of data replication. Um, and ensuring that all of the data is where it needs to be and accessible in a performant way. And so the Fabric is building on top of that by orchestrating the deployment of Harper servers in a way that's abstracted away, is automatically managed and connected to each other. And so that whole the whole complexity of having servers distributed in different locations and how you set up the replication between those servers, that's all managed by the Fabric service itself. So you can just simply think of Harper as a simple data application platform, and all of that underlying complexity is handled for you.
That sounds awesome to have distributed applications without the complexity of distributed applications.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and, a lot of what is, we're working on with this is the ability to, really make this a dynamic experience that it can adapt to the changing conditions of applications. Typical data applications really do often experience high levels of variability in terms of traffic, and being able to build those in ways that can handle large amounts of traffic, but still work in an economically scalable way, and is, I think, of significant value in building efficient applications.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of diving into the details here, what are some of the toughest technical and design challenges that we face when we're building Fabric?
Sure. Let's see. Some of the toughest challenges probably are often related to, some of those things that are inherent in this. Ensuring that replication is consistent when you have changing network conditions and even changing scale of your deployment. With Fabric, oftentimes you may be actually adjusting like where your application is focused in terms of distribution. And so adapting to all that certainly has some complexities. And I think that with this, we are building something that's designed to be a simple and easy to use interface. And with that, like, building something that is simple is inherently one of the most complex problems that humans often solve. The simpler you try to make things, the more complex it actually is underneath to achieve that. And so I think that there's lots of really interesting and fun challenges with how we approach that, and be able to adapt to potentially different types of application configurations and do so in a seamless way that doesn't require a lot of thought from the end user.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to start using it myself. Thinking about how we're pricing this, I know we're going for kind of a newer pricing model with block pricing rather than charging per request, like I see a lot of companies do, or based on so like what is pre-provisioned. With block pricing, explain how block pricing works with Fabric.
Sure. I think this again kind of goes back to how we are integrating different services. And you kind of typically actually have very fundamental different pricing strategies that you often encounter when you're purchasing, say, a compute platform versus purchasing, say, a database as a service that may be, again, like more request oriented, whereas the latter may be more oriented around, um, you know, the time that your compute function is running, or the time that your cloud instance is up and running. And so by bringing those two together, we actually had to innovate somewhat in terms of how we're pricing that, because we're dealing with two very, very different fundamental pricing strategies in the industry, and kind of bringing those together into a unified way of thinking about pricing. And so the block pricing strategy provides a way that um, it does not require a lot of upfront complexity in terms of determining pre-provisioned infrastructure or anything like that. And so in one sense, it's more along the lines of, more of a serverless or per usage based, but there still is a fundamental decision that needs to be made in terms of distribution and the fundamental resources that we're allocating to ensure high performance, and that's not just subject to spinning up on demand, and subject to a lot of cold start issues that sometimes you may experience in other services. And so it's kind of trying to achieve that balance of those two things. And so the block pricing methodology allows you to have fairly low commitment purchasing of the Harper service in a way that is economically very efficient, but then also is highly dynamic in that you can use up blocks rapidly if you do have high levels of traffic or load that come along. That can utilize more resources within our infrastructure to adapt to peaks in demand. And so this block pricing strategy is really intended to help users be able to uh, work in a way that's low commitment, minimal commitment for the service that they're getting, but still able to readily adapt to changing conditions by potentially bigger blocks or more distributed blocks as situations demand. And so it provides a lot of flexibility while still kind of purchasing things in a very coherent and block-oriented way.
Hmm. Interesting. So, can you walk us through a specific, like, real world example of how a customer might move through blocks over time, like considering things like spikes in traffic and so forth?
Sure, sure, yeah. Well, I mean, I think even through the whole development process, like, um, we very much would hope that the experience you have is you could initially try out Harper with a free tier.
Hmm.
You could kind of see how the basic process works, experience the deployment process, build an application once you've seen how the basic mechanisms work, start prototyping, and then develop and deploy that maybe at the next basic tier at very low cost and start, using that potentially as a prototype that you are working with, QA or uh, others in the company to see the application. And then as you are ready to put that into production, maybe you'll go up to the next tier that can handle more traffic and is priced, more economically per request. There's kind of natural pricing scales. Like as you want to use more, we're going to provide you better pricing for bigger blocks. And so, as you do that, you can move to larger blocks for production usage. And then perhaps you are expanding your user base to a new area. So it would be easy to purchase a block in a new region that gives you better latency and availability in a new region. For example, if you're expanding into Europe or Asia. And then beyond that, you may even have needs, maybe temporarily, for a large event or sale to purchase a larger block to accommodate, increased capacity if the current capacity, um, isn't quite what's needed for a specific situation. So there's a lot of opportunities both for increasing um, both the block size to improve just the scalability of prices, as well as kind of adapting your regional distribution to handle changing conditions and demand.
So, like, a
Yes,
spike in
yeah,
traffic might see you run through a block much quicker, and then
right.
another block would be purchased so you can continue to go. How does that provide, like, the control mechanisms that people are looking for?
So I mean, we will be monitoring, there's communication that will be taking place. And one of the things that, um, is a big part of any of this is just that level of service. Like, hey, we noticed that you're using smaller blocks than is more efficient, that is less efficient for what you may be doing. And so, part of that is as a company our size, we're working with customers to try to make sure that you're getting the best deal with your block pricing. The whole Fabric UI provides high visibility into what you've purchased and analytics that provide information. So all of those things are easily controllable variables in terms of monitoring your block pricing and ensuring that you're getting the best value for your dollar.
That makes sense. So, kind of wrapping up here, where do you see Harper Fabric, like, evolving over the next year? Like, what are any idea of things that we're going to continue to improve with it?
I think some of the things that we're really looking to over the next year are just in continuing to expand our footprint, get into more regions, improve our ability to Again, high scale in highly dynamic ways and improving the efficiency and speed at which we can adapt to changing network conditions and changing network demand, as well as continuing to, within the UI itself, provide more streamlined paths for developing applications, more assistance for how you structure a well-designed application, creating your schemas and all the internals of a well-designed application, adding more AI assistance to building applications. So I think those are a lot of the things that we're looking at, over the next year to really improve the Fabric experience.
All right. So one last question here. What excites you most on a personal level about the launch of Harper Fabric?
I'm just excited about people getting to experience Harper. This is why, at the end of the day, this is why we're developing this, is because we believe this is, an awesome platform for building applications, and just excited for more people to get to experience that and lowering the barrier of entry to be able to build applications in Harper and get to see them deployed and working in a way that really helps users leverage that and enjoy the benefits of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time today, Kris. I'm excited to try Fabric myself and dive in. I'm sure a lot of other people are too. So thank you for your time, and we'll catch you next time.
All right. Thank you, Aleks. I appreciate it.